Alrighty, thanks for being here everybody for the illustration masterclass for today. And we're going to be doing something really fun today that applies to pretty much anybody who has an online presence, and that is avatars, okay? So yeah, you're scrolling through Twitter, you're scrolling through Instagram, wherever you happen to be looking, Behance, etc. You're going to find people using avatars to represent their faces, their persona, their true personality, whatever it happens to be. I don't know. But of course you could use a photograph, right? Nothing wrong with that. Many of us don't have access to a really amazing professional photographer to get something like that done. And sometimes we don't want to use a photograph, and it's more fun to illustrate an avatar. So what we're going to do today is look at some ways to do that in Photoshop. And I'm going to pop on over here to Photoshop. We have two faces here. The one at the bottom was turned into the avatar you see here. Now, how did that happen? Well, let's take a look at our layers. Okay, so I'm going to just turn off all these bad boys. And then we are going to look at this. There is our sketch. So looking at the woman's photo here, I used Symmetry mode. And so that's the first thing I want to talk about when creating an avatar. Most people for their avatars have a face looking straight at you. That's the simplest way to get started. Now, that's not always the case. Just for a moment, I'll turn this off and show you. This is the avatar that I've been using for many years, probably 9 years now, I want to say. Maybe even longer, honestly, don't know. And it is not obviously straight on frontal view. This is a 3/4 view for my head. That's just what I wanted to do. Before we move on though, talking about this avatar of the woman, I do want to point out a few things about the avatar that I designed for myself that I think makes it work. One, simple. Okay, keep it simple. Use big shapes if you can. Use bold shapes if you can. Use contrast if you can. Let's go through that again. Simple, contrast, bold, right? Big. So we're working in a small area, but we want the major shapes that we use to be larger so that the person who is looking at the avatar, which often appears at a very tiny size, still reads clearly, okay? And we're going to talk today about this cartoonification of your face, okay? You want to go sort of more realistic. You want to go with different styles. And what we're going to do is with this gentleman over here on the right, up at the top, try a couple of different things with his face and create a couple of avatars, okay? Hopefully there's enough time to do at least 2 or 3, but we'll see how far we go. Speaking of variation here, this is another avatar that I've used in the past here and there, and you can see that that's much more cartoony, right? And this depends on what it is that you want to do and what you want to say with your avatar. It also depends on the community that you're joining and that you're using this for. So, you know, if I were maybe a Twitch streamer doing a lot of gaming or something, I might use an avatar like this. It's a little more playful, it's a little more fun and a little bit more gamey, like video game. But this is what I use for my illustration because I think it does show off a little bit more of my design chops, being able to use this square frame to create an illustration that A, kind of looks like me, and B, shows off what I can do with illustration to create a head using just a few simple shapes and lines, and also the lighting, you know, like adding this pink color for the shadows, things like that. It's really meant to kind of show off what I can do as an illustrator, and that's why I use it. All right, so let's hide that now. Come back here. So I started off with this little sketch of the woman, and I used Symmetry mode. If you don't know about Symmetry mode in Photoshop, well, let me tell you, it's going to make your day when we take a look at this, because it is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Up here you have a little butterfly icon, and you have these options to do symmetry, okay? I think if I do last use symmetry, it'll show up exactly where it was. So there was the symmetry I had, and I'll hide my sketch for a moment here. And all I did was I looked at this woman's face and I said, all right, I want to just kind of get like a general sort of shape for her face. And you'll notice that everything I draw on the right is automatically reflected on the left, and that's just so handy. And that was what made it so easy to do the sketch really quickly, right? So I had those eyebrows up there. I like that they're pronounced lids, rather folds there in the skin for the lids, right? So I made this quick sketch, and from there, modify that a little bit, etc. So I tried to get all those shapes looking pretty decent, and then I went a step further and I made everything look really, really simple and clean. Okay, but the first thing, of course, I had to do was get this lay-in looking about right. So that was step one. You get the idea here. So then I would turn off symmetry right here, turn it off, and you get that hairstyle to feel kind of like what I'm seeing there in the picture. Turn the symmetry back on and get that rest of the head there and the neck. Okay, that's it. So that was the sketch. Obviously the irises need to come in a little bit, but you get the idea. Let's take a look now at the sketch, the line art. So there's the line art I did. I did a nice clean line art. Notice how bold the line art is around the silhouette, okay, of the shoulders and neck and the head. That's important because as I reduce it in size, I still want to be able to see those lines very clearly, right? Nothing is drawn particularly thin except for a few little marks here and there, some lines on the face and whatnot. Okay, so if you bring back our different layers, it's important to work in layers for the color here, see? So I can make adjustments as needed. So we're just bringing all that back. And then we have our background. And that's it. So let's turn off that symmetry. And that is the step, these are the steps I went through to create this one. We're gonna recreate some of that now with this fellow right here. Say hi to some folks in the chat who are watching, and I'm glad you're all here. Umacorn and Mercurial and Bliss and Afroha and Gareth and Laura and Annika and Biola. Nice to see you folks. Hey Alan, how's it going? Lots of folks joining us here. Hope you're all well. It's Friday, the weekend's around the corner. Everybody excited? Time to squeeze in one more stream about art, right? Rob says, that's a fantastic way to speed things up. Yeah, oh my goodness. Symmetry is fantastic. We're only just scratching the surface. There's a whole other class I did with Symmetry, Masterclass. You can look that up on YouTube. But you see there are many different modes you can use and whatnot. So, really good stuff. Alrighty. Let us hide this group for a moment. And we're going to do a little sketching here now. Start to play around with what we want to do with this guy. All right, so I'm just using a really simple little brush. This is a brush you can get for free on my Gumroad page. It's the Doozy Inker. I'll write that out for you. Doozy, D-O-O-Z-Y. If you just do a Google search for Doozy Inker Kyle Webster, you'll find it. It's a freebie. Go out and grab it. It's good for inking. All right, I'm just using it to sketch right now. Doesn't matter. Okay, let's turn that symmetry back on, okay? That's right there in the center of our square there. Actually, I want to turn that off, and I want to do a new vertical, and I want to make sure that it is in the center of that square. So I'm going to transform that. Get that right there. Is that dead center? I hope so. If it's not, we will move it. Yeah, I think it needs to be moved just a touch over to the right. So let's do that. All right. Now we will do our drawing. So I'm looking at this guy's face, and what I like is that the eyebrows are dark and kind of heavy, right? And then he's got his upper lid is kind of covering up a good portion of the iris there. Doesn't make him look sleepy, but it's important to notice that, right? And I like this triangular shape of the nose here. It's a lot to work with this guy. So we could start with something more kind of like what we did with this woman, which is to just sort of suggest something that looks very similar to what he really looks like. Okay, so we can try that first. Come down and we will round out that face. Just kind of go in and out like that. He's got those ears that have sort of a point there, so I'll just simplify that like that. Make sure we got plenty of room for the hair up there at the top, right? Got a lot of hair. So we're gonna have some fun with that. And then here come those eyebrows, and I'm just gonna really get in there and make them chunky. I think that's gonna help with the likeness, okay? Now with an avatar, you don't have to worry about being, you know, like extremely accurate with the likeness. That is not a huge priority, okay? You're just suggesting the essence of the person, right? So not a big deal if you feel like it's not like the best likeness ever, okay? I want to make sure that those eyes feel sort of sleepy enough. If you erase, oh, I'm drawing on the wrong layer. Oh boy, shame on me. That's okay. If you erase with symmetry mode, it'll also work. Don't worry, it's not just for drawing. You can draw and you can erase, of course. All right, get out there for that nose. And got a nice Cupid's bow there. And then a little bit of color down here for the beard. Okay, so we just kind of shade that in like that. Okay, so this is where I'm going to start from. And then we are going to not sure why it wants to take my symmetry and change it. Hold on. There we go. We want to make this face much bigger, right? Because it's an avatar. So because he has all that hair, what I like about the photo is how the hair gets cropped off. So that's one thing we could do to really maximize the face space that we give for this guy, okay? So let us see what that looks like. See how that works. Now I could just do this. I could have like sort of a collar there so we know that he's got a body, right? Not just a floating head. But I like that amount of space because we get out way back here and it's still, we can see that, right? That's very important. Now let's knock it back. Just want to make sure I get the roundness of that nose there. So we'll knock that back. And like what I did with the woman was I just used a nice big bold mark. Okay. So, you know, I could draw like that kind of thickness. All right. So we'll do that for the outside of the head. So we just come around like this. I'll turn off those guidelines because those are going to mess us up. And I'll make a mask on this layer. so that everything I draw, if I draw outside of that area, it's okay, I'm not going to see it. Okay, so we could do this. We could do a little bit of bumpiness there for texture of the hair, and then come up and over and down. Whoops, let me do that a little bit better. Like so. And that would be a good way to outline that. You can see how bold that is, right? As I go away and zoom out. Okay. So now I've got that out of the way. I can come in here and I can start to shape that a little bit. I think that's better. Actually, no, his forehead's got some good real estate, so I'll pull that up a little bit like that. And this whole area, you know, we could use our paint bucket tool. I need to fill that in. Hold on a second. There we go. Where is it? Where's the hole that I'm missing? There's a hole somewhere. There we go. And just fill in those little bits right there. Okay. Nice big solid shape for the hair is a good thing. This is going to help us with it reading really clearly, okay? If you can hear the sound of my pen on my screen, I apologize for that. Happens all the time. I'm always apologizing, but I use these soft Wacom nibs, and they do tend to be a little bit noisier than the average. Okay. Hey, let me give you a quick tip on something, by the way. I'm drawing pretty fast here, but if you need some help with smoothing, go up here to smoothing and turn that on. I'm putting it on 30% now, and every line I draw, I can slow down a little bit and I can get really precise, and it's gonna, whoops. It's gonna just slow down a little bit and help me to be accurate. You know, as I look at him, I think one of the things that makes him him is that he has big eyes. So I'm gonna actually go bigger here, like this. I think that just helps with the likeness. I want to elongate that nose. That's what I want to do. I'm gonna start from here, and I'm just gonna kind of go down like this, and then come out here. And shave off some of that, and then pull it under like that. There we go. And I want to make his mouth a little wider. Like this. Pick up that line right there and just leave it have a little bit of space. And then here, just start to add a bit of texture with that line work. Make it a little bumpy. Like so. I mean, without symmetry, can you imagine? This would take a long time, right? Plus, it's just so great to see it happening in real time. The lines being drawn. Okay. Connect that. And that's pretty much it for the line work. If I want to just kind of throw a little line like that for definition, that's good as well. I can also do that, add a little gap right there to show that there's more eyebrow. Okay. All right, now on the inside here, we can take this down like that and bring that collar around like so. Actually, leave a little bit more space. There we go. So I want to be wary of not leaving enough space so that when you get smaller, those little areas that have some space, you know, you don't want those to sort of fill in on the viewer, right? Because you got so much smaller. Okay, up we go, and there. That is looking pretty good for me. Let's hide that symmetry. Okay, so bye-bye sketch. There is a nice little line drawing we use, okay? So if you zoom way out, you should still be able to read that pretty clearly. That's a nice thing. Now I can get a bit more precise with the iris. That shape, of course, is very important. If I had more time and if we weren't, you know, trying to do so much today, one of the things I would do would be to probably draw using an actual circle instead of trying to sort of freehand this. But we need to be zippy because there's more to do. Okay. There. Okay. What do you all think? How's that working? Big shapes, big thick outline, smoothing all the time. Yeah, Jimena, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name, but I agree. Yeah, smoothing's great. Let's see. Kent, you're just discovering the symmetry. Well, that's fine. It's good to learn these new things. They are super helpful. All right. Okay. Why don't we bring back those guidelines? And I'm going to, behind my line art, just create a nice square there. And we're going to work with some color. So one other thing about avatars, you know, you can go subtle, and that can work if you've got your contrast kind of working nicely and all that, but I always recommend trying first to go kind of bold. Whoops. You know, so like a nice bright yellow, that gets your attention. And then I'm gonna use a darker color for contrast here. Make a new layer. And just kind of knock all this in here. Get a little bit more saturated, like that. Remember, you don't have to worry about when you're designing avatars whether or not you're using print safe colors, because of course you're designing these for a screen. So, you know, 9 times out of 10, that's not really a concern. New layer, and let's go ahead and knock in some eyes. And his eyes have a nice green color. And I think that's one of the things that makes him look like who he is. So what's cool is to take that like a little bit more extreme since it's an avatar. So that's the kind of thing I would do is, you know, be like, all right, let's do that. Also, I'm noticing I didn't mess around with that iris, so no problem. Just come over here, take this, Command J means I'm duplicating it. I have an action here set up to flip horizontally, so flip it, just slide it on over, lock it on top of that other eye, delete that one that didn't have any editing going on. And merge these layers together. There we go. So, highlights, let's pop some of those in there. This time I will use a circle, I think. You know, or maybe I won't bother with the highlights just yet. I might leave it just like this for now. Let's see how it goes. It's a nice color that works with yellow. Well, you could go analogous, so you could go like an orangey red or something like that. As long as it doesn't get too close to his skin tone, right? So let's see how that looks. Yeah, I like that. Remember to make that mask. Okay. And here you're kind of almost done. That's the great thing, you know, use flat color, keep it simple. Just gonna make the lips a tiny bit darker here. Okay. Like so. And that could work for an avatar. You know, something you also have the option to do is to add a border to your avatar. If you want it to stand out, you know, depends on what kind of background you're on. So in that case, you know, what I could do is create a square and center that with the other square. And I'm actually gonna put this behind the all of the color, like this, and then go ahead and mask it. So it comes up through, see how he kind of pops up into the border like that? And there's his avatar. So hopefully that should read really well, big or small. And that's a really straightforward way to do one of these, is to do line art that's bold and clean, and then use flat color. And again, you don't have to have like a perfect likeness, but what you're trying to do is create sort of something that captures enough of the person so that we sort of go, oh, I saw that person's avatar. I kind of get a feel for who they are. And if they've met you in person, they might even say, oh yeah, that really is that person, you know? So here I can get a little bit more interesting with the hair. I'm not going to make it so symmetrical. You know, I could kind of do that, you know, make it so that that's not exactly the same all the way across. You know, he even kind of seems to have this sort of dip right in the front where it does that, you know? So these are the kinds of things you can do a little later. You can start to mess around with that. And any opportunity you have to sort of just clean something up a little bit, put my symmetry back on. Like here, I just want to sort of slide that all into one nice passage. You know, just to tidy that up. Make this all look like it's the same width. things like that. Okay. There you go. Any questions about all that? Let's see. Quickly, how do you smooth again? Up here, Mark. Little butterfly. When you have your brush selected, then this menu pulls up, or rather this option will present itself. Thanks, Biola. I got the eyes. Well, the eyes are really important. Thanks, Laura. And Kyle, what are some tips to not get too precious with designing, illustrating your avatar? Well, yeah, I know. Like it's one of those things you could just work to death. You could just keep doing it, keep changing, keep trying different things, and never settle on anything. And that's just normal to do that. However, you do at some point and have to just say, all right, this is going to have to do. And I think you just kind of know it when you know it. When I made that avatar that I've been using for years and years, I just thought what I liked about it was well, first of all, you know, I'm smiling in a way that I think I smile most frequently when I'm hanging around with friends and things like that. So there's kind of a look to it that to me just felt like my own personality. And I was happy with the simplicity. I mean, again, keep it simple. You got to keep it simple. And I just committed, and that was the end. So at some point you just have to say done, you know, and it's not like I didn't experiment and try other things. You know, like I showed you, I had this kind of thing, and I had done like, excuse me, another one that I used for a little while on a lighter blue kind of background, and it was fine. But I'll tell you, this one has, what's been good about it is if you make one that you're happy with, the key to making it work is sticking with it for a long time, because then people start to recognize it. It's like anything else. You see it once, it doesn't really mean anything. 3 times, 4 times, 20, 30, 40 times, people start to see it pop up and they go, oh yeah, I know that person. I've seen their avatar before. You know what I mean? In fact, when I had been using it for a couple of years, I went to an event, Icon, the illustration event, and several people came up to say, hi, are you Kyle Webster? And I said, yeah. I said, I recognize you from your avatar. So, you know, here's the Photoshop file I have for that, if you want to see it. So currently, you know, I'm having a mask on my avatar. This is the original Photoshop file that I've been working with for, gosh, like I said, like 10 years. So, you know, I just added the mask, but it's, oh, you know what? This is not the original because I'm missing the layers for the drawing. What happened to the original? I have it saved somewhere. I know I do. But I've played with it before and done some, you know, some really silly little things to add to it. And that's another thing I want to mention too, is that you can, with a simple enough avatar, you can dress it up and change it. And this can sort of relieve you of the pressure you feel to make it perfect from the moment you start. If you keep the general avatar unchanged, then you can do things like for Halloween, put a mask on it, or put some little devil horns on it or something, or for the holidays, you know, do something with a wreath, or I don't know what. You get the idea. If it's your birthday, put a little birthday hat on. So if it's a simple enough avatar, you can make these nice changes to it. Even change the background color, you know, for certain events, things like that. It's great to have the structure in place there for you to then embellish it in certain ways and add ornamentation, whatever, when the occasion calls for it. But it still remains basically the same. I think that's a really nice thing, that you can play with the avatar for different occasions. Okay? Well, okie dokie then. Let us move on from this kind of style, if you will. Put that all in a group. We'll hide that for the moment. We're going to try something different. Okay, any questions? Let's see. Okay. So we're gonna try something a little bit more kind of cartoony and graphic. Set ourselves up again with our gray background so I can sketch. This time I won't sketch on that same layer like a silly guy. So I'm gonna take the hair and make it a bigger player, okay? Might have to play with that face shape a little bit. And I want him to have more forehead. So actually I might again throw this off the canvas. We'll see how this works here. But I want those eyebrows to be really, really, really big. Like this. And I gotta do this one without line work. You'll see what I mean. I'm gonna try and just do kind of shapes. Actually, I'm not going to do that. Let's see here. Ba-bum. Sorry I'm so quiet, but I'm just thinking, folks. I'm thinking about how to do this, so bear with me. Now that I think of it, it's less about the hair and more about the forehead on this guy. Might be more of this sort of ticket. Trying to get a nice, simple shape. And this will be all dark. make the eyes much bigger than that. And really cartoonify. I want to make them bigger. Wonder if you all can hear the violin again, like last time. My kids practicing violin. It's the famous Bach double. I don't know why they're playing that again. They played it years ago. I guess they're brushing up on it for some reason. All of this is going to move over there. All right, so this is what I want to work with here basically for my shapes. It's a tougher angle. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? It is a tougher angle. That's true. And hopefully what I'm going to do with it, though, is going to make it less tough. I need to just do some stuff here. I keep wanting to go back into like simplify into just the real basics here. So and all of this even, let me see here. I'm going to try something because this is like I do with the caricature process where you try and find, can I go even simpler? Like 1 and 2, straight, straight, and then out. No, I think the roundness kind of helps sell who that is. Yeah, I like that better. And I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna move it a little bit like that. A little bigger towards the bottom. Okay. So the idea here would be to use the lasso tool to make some shapes and just fill them with color. So I would start with this outside. Here. I'm going to go pretty bright with our color, right? And then we're going to use some black. I'm going to use that silhouette to mask up here. That'll probably need to be refined a little bit. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, not a little bit, a lot of it. But that's the great thing, is you can just tweak and tweak and tweak and get it right. And obviously, you know, I'm racing the clock. You're not gonna be in that situation if you're doing this, right? So again, really liking this idea of playing with the green of the eyes. And in this case, I will use the marquee tool. And I think I'm going to even bigger. I'm just going to experiment here. I'm going to add a stroke to the outside. And then I'm going to overlap it. So that we get that section of the lid there, just covering up. Now, for the nose and stuff, you have options here. Now you could do line work, like I could grab this color and I could go darker, and I could do something like just suggest the nose like that. That's an option. right? And if I do that, I might wish to also do something like that. Draw the lids of the eyes. You know? And for the mouth, you might want to go darker. You might want to actually it's more like this. See just how we're looking here right now. Maybe you take that green and you put that as a as a background color to have it come through. We actually need to go lighter than that so there's contrast with the head. You could go really green with it. Let's see. Could also pick a complementary color. You could go with sort of a pink. It'll have to be light enough to contrast with the skin or darker. Whichever way you go, you have to make sure that the skin is going to stand out. That also might work. Although I do like the green. It's just value-wise, it's a little too similar. So I'm tempted to do something like, something like this for now. So you see the difference here in styles is this one is not relying so much on line, but more on shape and then tone. I guess more similar to sort of what I did for my own. If we just hide for a moment the line work there, you can do something like this, and I know we're running out of time, so I want to show you this quickly. If I just pop up above this layer that has the skin on it, what I could do is I could decide, okay, I'm going to model the face a little bit by adding some shadows, you know? Okay. This kind of thing. Where you start to model it with shadow like that, right? That might be another way to go. And you could get similar results then. You know, you can pull out of the shadow. Like this. Know what I mean? Just to add that extra bit of detail. So a combination of using the brush and making that all work and play nicely together. I wish I had more time, folks, to show you more stuff, but hopefully this has been informative and helpful. Remember, keep it simple, bold, clear, all those good things, and make sure it reads at a small size, keep it punchy, and give yourself something that you could decorate and change up from season to season or for special occasions. You should be in great shape. So thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Remember to be kind, and I'll see you next week. Ciao for now.